All right, students, we talked about Fabio in our previous discussion over the same mind map. Now we follow another part of the medieval literary forms in the shape of fable. So please attend to it and don't get confused when you try to differentiate between fablio and fable, because for some students the names may be somehow sounding similar, making or adding to their confusion. So I hope you remember that discussion about fablio by now. And now we talk about fable. There may not be really a big difference between the two in terms of the content. The manner may be different, which I will tell you in a short while, but generally speaking, the purpose may not be very different from that followed in fablio. If you consult Encyclopedia Britannica, it says that fable may be in the form of a prose or verse tradition, VERSE. But in either case, its form would be narrative. It would be narrating some kind of a story. Now, what could be that kind is what we will be trying to um, identify and know in our discussion today. The distinguished feature of fable as a narrative form is basically it's featuring animals as characters. Now, this is important. Actually, in fable, the characters of the story would be animals instead of human beings. And again, the purpose of these different animal characters, when they are made to interact, like you can take the example of many movies in the modern times that we find online, and we see that there are different animals, characters behaving the way humans do. They have societies, they have different institutions, they have families, they have marriages, and through that story, the writers would be telling you something that would otherwise may not be easier for him to narrate. Now, this is a good way of attracting objective attention of the listeners or the audience or the viewers or the people who are actually witnessing this narration. Because when you put animals as characters in a story, people feel less offended, less harmed. For example, if you are talking about the political situation of our country today, and if, for example, a writer is targeting a politician or a leader, it may not be convenient for him to name him as a character in his or her story. Rather, if the writer goes for a lion or a donkey or some other kind of animal behaving as the prime minister or the president or any other dignitary, it would be rather easier for him to communicate his message. So I hope this point is clear, that why do some people prefer animal characters to humans. This is more relevant when you talk about exposing the follies and the weaknesses of human beings. So generally, again coming back to that Encyclopedia Britannica's definition, we say that fable feature animals, they behave and speak like ordinary human beings, and the purpose behind the story is to highlight human follies and weaknesses. Then we also notice that in fable there is a moral in the end, or a lesson for improvement in human behavior. Now this is the tightly woven part of the story, and it is formulated or explicitly clearly stated in the end of the story. So this is how Encyclopedia Britannica summarizes the concept of fable. When you talk about the origin of fable, we have found different historians who believe that its origin can be traced back to Greek and Indian sources. Means some historians believe that before arrival into the French culture and then to the English culture, it existed in Greek and Indian cultures in the primitive times. So again, we say that it is a short animal story where animals behave like we human beings do, and the purpose is to illustrate a simple moral. And if I leave this discussion for the time being, I can simply give you the example of the short stories that we come across at school and college level. We talked about the greedy dog and the ant and that bird, and then we have the crow, and these different, again you see that in those stories the characters are basically animal, but they have a message for us, and that message is included in the end part of the story for us to learn. So this can be one good pattern or strategy to identify what actually fable was all about. Now, some historians believe that its origin can also be traced back to beast tales. Beast, again, animal tales. They were there in other cultures. We will talk a little later what beast tales were all about, although there is not something very much technical or difficult about understanding this concept. Again, fable would satirize human follies and vices, the mistakes, the blunders that we commit, the way we pretend ourselves to be humans at a very higher level, existing at a very higher level than other beings, and then the minor or the small mistakes that we would make. Writers and scholars would be needing some kind of material to expose them. Now again, when you talk about the characters, we say that in fable we have said that the characters would be animals. So in itself, even associating man with an animal is also a point of satirizing or making a satire of man as a superior being to other animals or to the other living world. Means you associate a man with a beast or a lion or donkey or any other kind of animal is in itself a question mark over the you have this concept of I am not saying this referring it to ashraful makhluqat. Please remember that I am not trying to associate that concept with this fable. But if you look at that concept of ashraful makhluqat, we say that man is superior to other living beings. In that sense, fable may not agree with that. Even if a fable writer agrees with that, even in that sense, he would be trying to make his point that generalizing or just attesting to the idea of man as a superior being may not work all the time. When you talk about the Western tradition of fable. Historians say that there was a legendary writer whose name was Aesop, Aesop. He was basically a Greek writer, and it is said that there are several great fables associated with his name. Some people believe that when you shuffle the pages of history, you will find some more than 200 fables, but they also admit that there is no clear point to establish the actual origin of these fables. Aesop is a writer who dates back to 4th century BC. It means some 400 years before the arrival of Jesus Christ. So when we are talking about the Middle English, it means we are talking about some 1600 years back when Aesop was there, and he was supposed to be a great fable writer. Then there are other historians who say that apart from Aesop, there were other writers in the Greek and Roman traditions who developed this Aesopian model, this concept that was nourished and cherished by Aesop. And they include the name of Roman poet Horace, and then there is a Greek biographer Plutarch, and then a Greek writer Lucian, who was believed to be a great satirist. At this point of time, I would expect all of you to please search some material about Aesop, his concept of fable, his fables. If you get hold of any, try to make a sense of that fable and share it with the class fellows so that many would benefit from this concept. And then I would be also interested in knowing that while you are searching for material, please specify what actually aroused your interest, and what made you feel interested in learning about Fable or Aesop or these Roman or Greek writers. Now when you come to the medieval England, we say that Fable was quite popular in the 12th and the 13th century, but unfortunately we do not have a clearly identified collection of fables that we can say that it exists from the Middle English period. There are books in French and Latin containing fables, and they survive, but before Chaucer, when we say before Chaucer, means Geoffrey Chaucer was born in 1340, so means till the mid of the 14th century we don't have a decent example to present to our students regarding the tradition of fable in the Middle English period. Then we talk about certain examples, the owl and the falcon. I hope you note it and you try to search something about the owl and the falcon. Then there is the fox and the cat, and both of them are included in a larger work which is titled The Owl and the Nightingale. So they may be there, you can search them and you can get some material about fable. Again, if you remember, in the beginning we talked about beast tales, and we said that some historians believe that fables actually developed from beast tales. So even these beast tales were also adopted for satirical purposes, to expose the follies and the weaknesses of humans. And it is said that beast tales were popular among the people because it would be very easy and convenient for the writers to pretend to be talking about animals and at the same time exposing human follies and human blunders and weaknesses. So we now try to sum up what we have discussed or talked about so far. We say that fable flourished in the Middle Ages, as did all forms of allegory. Now, this is again a new word for you, allegory. Many of you may not be familiar with the concept of allegory, and a notable collection of fables was made in the late 12th century by Marie de France. The medieval fable gave rise to an expanded form known as the beast epic. So, another new word has emerged during our discussion. In this presentation, two significant words that you need to be focusing in the coming lectures would be allegory and epic. But as they are loaded concepts, it would not be convenient or justifiable to just to mention these two here and conclude the discussion. But I have made a note of it. You also please make a note of it. We will be talking about allegory and we will be talking about epic. Beast epic and simple epic, it may not be having very much difference. It's just a form of an epic, but just to give you an idea, epic poems are basically lengthy stories having many scenes and episodes. The story has a hero and a villain and of course a victim, and then an endless stream of heroic endeavor as part of the epic story. And it can be if you still find some kind of confusion, you can imagine any movie that you have come across where you notice that there is a hero and then you know that there is a villain and then they fight and then there are certain odds faced by the hero, and normally the hero would come across or overcome. Even Beowulf in itself was an epic in a sense that Beowulf had certain challenges to meet and certain obstacles to overcome, which he later on succeeded in overpowering them. And this is how we build this concept of epic. Now, the most famous of the 12th century fables, or you can say the tales, are called the Roman de Rurynard. I think that we referred to this Roman de Rurynard cycle in our previous discussion also. Here we see the hero is Reynard the Fox, Reynard, the fox. And in German language, normally some of you, if you are searching, you will come across this word as Reinhard, and then Fuchs, Reynard Fuchs. So this is basically a symbol of cunning. You know cunning, lumri, and the concept of cunning or cleverness. For most of us now, it's not a very positive attribute. If someone calls you cunning, you may not find it very acceptable. But in the old times, maybe 400-500 years back, it was a kind of a compliment that many people would love to hear from others if they would call him or her a cunning person. So with this, we come to our conclusion of the discussion about Fabio. So just to refresh and to remind to your memory, we talked about two medieval literary forms till now. In the previous discussion, we were talking about Fabio, and now we have concluded our discussion about Fable. If you have any problem, you are welcome to ask question. Please share it with your friends, your fellows, other students, so that others may also benefit from this commentary or this humble contribution on my part for my students. Thank you.